Live from Singapore, now on BBC News Business Today.
TikTok swipes back. The social media giant files a lawsuit to stop a ban in the United States. Plus, how a once polluted town is trying to become one of the greenest in Europe. Hello and welcome to the first ever edition of Business Today. I'm Steve Lai, coming to you live from Singapore. Now, there's no better way to get you familiar with the new look and feel of the show than to get on with it. So let's start with our top story. The Chinese owner of TikTok has said it will sue the US government over a new law which requires it to sell the video sharing platform or be banned in America. The company has called the legislation an extraordinary intrusion on free speech rights. From New York, Michelle Fleury has more.
TikTok is hugely popular in America. 170 million people use the platform to communicate. Lawmakers aren't so keen. Congress and the Biden administration believe the app and its Chinese owner's ByteDance could be a danger to national security. The argument goes that Beijing could commandeer it to surveil and manipulate Americans. So they've given the company until the day before the next US president takes office on the 20th of January to sell or face a ban here in the United States. TikTok, well, it's fighting back, challenging the constitutionality of the new law, arguing in its legal filing, for the first time in history, Congress has enacted a law that subjects a single named speech platform to a permanent nationwide ban. The company also says that it's not possible legally, technically, or commercially to divest within that timeframe. Part of the challenge is that with 1 billion users worldwide, a lot of its content is actually available across borders, making it all on harder to unpick. The US Justice Department declined to comment, but here's what White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre had to say when asked about why President Biden continues to use TikTok for his political campaign.
So as it relates to the campaign and obviously other congressional members, they have to speak to themselves. The campaign has to speak to it. We've been very clear, what this law is not a ban, it is a divestment.
TikTok CEO Shou Chu, who appeared with his wife Vivian Cao at the Met Gala last night, is hoping TikTok's other recent First Amendment victories in the US, like blocking the state of Montana's bid to ban it, will help it prevail again. Outside of the courts, TikTok's best hope in a general election year is for Donald Trump to retake the White House, given that one of Mr. Trump's big backers and a major Republican donor, Jeff Yass, is also a TikTok investor.
Now, what more lies ahead in the courts for TikTok? Let's speak to Kirk McGill, a lawyer at Hall Estill. He joins us from Denver in the U.S. state of Colorado. Now, Kirk, what does TikTok need to prove in court?
TikTok needs to prove that the First Amendment covers its activities, not just the activities of its users, sufficient to overcome the courts in the United States, which give a great deal of deference to the executive branch and Congress's claims of national security issues related to virtually any form of communication.
And let's talk about the challenges then. What does it face in that regard when it comes to proving its case?
One of the primary difficulties that TikTok is going to have is that the principal First Amendment issue is the issue of its users' First Amendment rights as opposed to the company's First Amendment rights. And because the statute doesn't seek to ban TikTok, it seeks to require its divestment. That won't ultimately affect the end users, and they're the ones whose rights are most at issue.
And when it comes to the US government, they need to prove in court that there are national security issues. Is that the case?
That's precisely right. The difficulty is the United States government has to balance showing its hand in court in order to beat TikTok, but revealing potentially its intelligence sources and methods abroad, which may have greater value. And that's always been the difficulty for the government when it comes to national security cases, is the balance between freedom and security and between disclosing its evidence and hiding and concealing that evidence in order to protect its intelligence activities.
So in essence, the two parties involved, TikTok and the US government, are almost arguing to prove two different things.
That's right. It is the classic clash between freedom and security that's existed arguably since the Magna Carta, and it's on show here again today with TikTok. The times and the technology may have changed, but the issues are quite the same.
Yeah, so give us a sense then, what's at stake for both TikTok and the US government in this case?
Immediately, TikTok's concern is going to be remaining operational while the case goes through litigation. So they will likely see what's called a stay, which is to ask that the law be put on hold while the lawsuit proceeds. If they succeed in getting a stay, they could delay the statute going into effect for years, even if they ultimately lose the case. The U.S. government, on the other hand, will seek a quick implementation of the law, effectively requiring the divestment or banning of TikTok before the lawsuit even continues, winning the case before TikTok has a chance to defend itself.
Thanks, Kirk, for helping us make sense of that. Kirk McGill, a lawyer from Hall Estill. Now, Apple has unveiled a new artificial intelligence chip in its latest iPad Pro. And this comes despite sales of the iPhone and iPad falling. Now, for more, let's bring in Ryan Reith from market intelligence firm IDC. Ryan, tell us about Apple's latest announcements then. What's jumped out to you as being the most significant?
Thanks for having me on again. By the way, I think this was labeled as everyone as an iPad event, and it quickly turned into a chipset event. So, Apple announced some excellent iPads that are going to do great in our opinion. But I think the big storyline here is really the M4 chip announcement. So, this is, for those that don't know, I mean, this is really, sort of Apple's first silicon announcement that they've done that brings them into the sort of the step into AI. And there's a lot of things that are going to be following in the coming months, including their developer conference in about a month from now, that will play into a bigger picture around this. So the iPads are great. The discounting on the old iPads are excellent. The Air announcements, again, tremendous upgrades from the previous versions. The iPad Pros with the M4 leading with that, the brand new chipset, as opposed to the Mac. I think that's the biggest storyline, in my opinion.
You mentioned AI there, and that we might hear more down the line. Do you think Apple has been a bit late to the AI game, given they haven't made any major announcements or any major moves in that space so far?
No, that's that. I mean, I understand the question. It's that, in my opinion, that's the media headline. Because Microsoft's showing some of their cards, they're going to show a lot more. Google's showing some of their cards, they're going to show some more. Amazon, Meta, etc. It was just a matter of time until Apple showed this. And so if anyone thinks they're late to the game, then maybe they don't quite understand this completely. And to be very clear about what they announced today in the chipset and why that matters for AI, there's a lot of people that we speak to, and I think, generally think that AI is here, because any of us can go to ChatGPT and all the other solutions from their phone, which is true. But there's a different sense of urgency to bring it down to the device level. And, I can get into those details as to why, but they're not late, because really that hasn't happened yet. We're about to see this. And actually there was a comment, don't quote me on this because I could be saying it a little wrong, but I think they said this is the most powerful AI chip that's out today. And then that's true, because there's stuff right around the corner that's coming.
Okay, and there's more to come as well. Thanks very much, Ryan. Ryan Reith from consultancy firm IDC. Now to Finland, where one city is on an ambitious path to become carbon neutral. Lahti was once the center of industry and polluted, but it has gone through something of a transformation, as Adrian Murray reports.
Warming up for another big game. It's not just goals that the Pelicans want to score. Lahti's ice hockey team is trying to go green. This arena uses renewable energy, and the team travelled to domestic matches on a biodiesel-fuelled bus.
We are going to zero, and we like to go below it, even to negative. The biggest thing why we start this project, we like to show the way how to do things better.
Their efforts have helped win sponsors and also influence the fans.
When we started counting, almost everybody came by their own car. Nowadays they have changed their habits.
Lahti was once a polluted industrial city, but over the years it's transformed itself and is forging a greener future.
Getting rid of coal was a major step. This plant supplies citywide electricity and heating, using wood chips and residual waste from forestry and households.
If we look back to early 2000, our total emissions were over 1 million tons of CO2 annually. 2020, that was reduced to close to 100,000 tons. So a huge reduction, over 1 million tons within 20 years.
A Across the city, there's cleaner public transport, like electric buses, bike sharing, and lots of cycle paths. Even the orchestra is tracking its footprint and aims to be carbon-free. Reuse and recycling rates are also high, and a big part of the work is engaging the local community. Though take-up has been mixed, apps have also been tested out to encourage users to live more sustainably.
Everyone can choose suitable challenges for their life. For example, leaving a car for a day at home, or then you can choose, for example, 1 month not buying new clothes.
Heating, transport and food are among the biggest areas to tackle. However, some habits are hard to change, like steering drivers away from petrol cars. There's still plenty more to do, of course, but a greener future is one goal that lots of people can get behind. Adrienne Murray, BBC News, Lahti.
And that's it for this first edition of Business Today. Here's to many more ahead.